Tom Silverstein, he covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Boy, you got a little drama there in the offseason. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to that, having gone through the Favre era and even the Mikowski to Favre era. So, yeah, I've been around a lot of there haven't been a lot of quarterback switches, but there have been some pretty dramatic ones.
How would you sum up the last week here with the Packers?
Well, I could be making more of it, but I kind of think that this is the year that Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur sort of take back the organization, that it's been central to Aaron Rodgers. And, Mike McCarthy had a great run and gave Rodgers a lot of leeway during that time. And now they're seeing it as, okay, how many more years of this is left? And we have to start thinking about, the future. And not only that, Matt LaFleur was not able to really run his entire offense last year. He married a lot of stuff that Rodgers was doing with McCarthy. And I think in some ways it reminds me of that scene in Moneyball when, the man, Art Howe, keeps playing the guy he wants to play, and Brad Pitt keeps trading the guys away until he only has that guy to play. And so he's sort of like, okay, I drafted a running back. Okay, I drafted an H-back. And, we have no choice but to run the ball now because that's our strength. And I think that's what he wants to get back to. I think he wants to be a 50% running team. His mentor is Kyle Shanahan. And they drafted a H-back that looks just like Kyle Usich, and he drafted a running back that looks like Derrick Henry, who he had in Tennessee. So there's some changes going on.
No, I get that, Tom, but if I have the most talented quarterback of all time, and all of a sudden I'm going to make my team a running team. The reason why the Niners are a running team is because Jimmy Garoppolo is not Aaron Rodgers. The Tennessee is a running team because they have Ryan Tannehill. You have Aaron Rodgers. That's what I don't understand where you go, this is how we beat the Niners. I just gave some stats on what happened in the regular season and the postseason against the Niners. You didn't score and you didn't stop them. So what did you do in the offseason that says, hey, we're going to score more or we're going to be able to stop them? Jordan Love doesn't help you.
No, he absolutely does not help you right now. But, they addressed the defense last year. They spent a ton of money and capital and draft picks, and they're expecting it to be better in year two. They expect to be a better defense, although, I think they have to change parts of their scheme to do that, but that's a whole nother show. I think what you have is their belief, and here's the rub to it, is that, we all know Rodgers wasn't happy with McCarthy. So you change a coach, you have to live with the new philosophy. You don't get to pick the coach and what his new philosophy is going to be. And Matt LaFleur's philosophy is to have a strong running game and pass off a play action. But you got to run the ball, a good amount of the time in order to get Aaron Rodgers all the really good opportunities of passing the ball. And in that system, they don't, in Shanahan's system, even in McVay, which are all the same, they don't stress big-time wide receivers. I mean, the 49ers don't have big-time wide receivers. The Rams have good, fast receivers, but they're not, all pros.
But they spent money, though. They spent money on their Brandon Cooks. Like the Rams spent money and tried to upgrade, Cooper Kupp. The Niners, you can say that maybe, they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. You got Kittle, who's involved in the offense as well. I don't know with Rodgers. Is Rodgers there in 3 years, Tom?
Unlikely. I mean, after 2 years, they have then so he's here this year, then 2 more years left of proration on his original guaranteed money at, I think it's 13.5 or 14 million per year. So they could do it in after 2021 and still take a little bit of a hit, but not bad. I think it all depends. I think that what they're saying is if it's 3 years, it's 3 years. But we don't know what's going to happen in 3 years.
Is he difficult to work with, though? Like Rodgers, I've been around him, but you deal with him differently. Is it real or media created that he is passive-aggressive, he's difficult, he's a diva, all the things that you hear?
Well, I think that he is established in a lot of the things he does, and he's extremely smart. And it's hard, I think, for people to be smarter than him. And, I think that causes some issues. I think every quarterback's a diva, just like every wide receiver's a diva. What the degree is, coaches are really reluctant to talk about that. And but I think it's more about can they, get him to buy in all in on LaFleur's system, because I don't think they did that last year. I think they had a lot of parts that were McCarthy's system. I'll give you a couple examples. Is they run the clock down. Rodgers likes to run the clock down to 0 because he wants to know what the defense is doing. Yeah. He wants to make them make the first move. So pre-read, pre-snap, he has a read. That's not a real big staple of LaFleur's offense. He likes tempo, and he likes to get the ball out, snap the ball. He likes a lot of plays. So that's one thing. They want to run a higher percent. They ran the ball, I think, 62% of the time, something like that. They want to run it closer to 50. So, Rodgers had a lot of leeway in changing plays. I just think those are the kind of things that they're trying to implement, and they felt like they had to do it through a message in the draft.
Yeah, but it's a silly message to send if you got a guy who may not play for 3 years and you trade up to get a guy. Can't you send a message in a different way to Aaron Rodgers? Do I have to draft a quarterback who won't, unless he gets hurt, he's not going to play for a couple of years? It's just, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the front office of the Packers there. So,
yeah, I think I'm not defending them. I'm trying to explain what their thinking was. Yeah. And I think their thinking was, Brian Gutekunst was around when Ted Thompson took Aaron Rodgers. And the end result of that was good. He had a quarterback who became an All-Pro and an MVP. And I think if you have the belief that Jordan Love is that kind of quarterback, then you have to, you are the keeper of the organization. And as a GM, you have to make that move. I don't know if Jordan Love's going to be that guy. He could bomb out in 3 years. But I'm trying to get you inside Brian Gutekunst's head because he's been through this, and I think they're saying, you only fall in love with a quarterback once, and picking at number 30, you don't get a chance to get a guy like that, and so that's what we're going to do. And I still think they can win with Rodgers.
Well, they overachieved last year, Tom. They weren't a 13-3 team. I think, third.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and absolutely I think because of that.
Everything went their way.
Yes, absolutely. All right, if you can ask Rodgers one question and get an honest answer, what would the question be?
I think the question would be, are you willing to go all in on LaFleur's offense and do whatever he says? Because, like I said, he wanted the change, and here you go. That's what happens when, be careful what you want. Sometimes you get a coach with a different offense and a different idea how to do things. So I would want to know if he's all in on it.
Tom, good to talk to you. We appreciate your time, and congrats on getting, whatever you feel like it's a scoop or just a strong inclination here of what's going on with this situation. More to follow, I'm sure, with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason.
Yeah.
It feels like every offseason there's something with Aaron Rodgers. But thank you, Tom, for spending some time.
You're very welcome, Dan.
That's Tom Silverstein. He covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.